everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. I'm going to be sharing a couple of cards that I made using new products from Simon Says Stamp's Cheering For You release. And this technique is really fun because I'm going to be doing some ink smushing with distress inks. It's one of my absolute favorite techniques. I have not done it in a while, so I thought this would be the perfect time to break it out and use the ink smushed backgrounds that I create to create a die cut panel that will be on my cards. And so as you can see, I've made two. So I've got green and blue. And so I'm going to show you how I made the green panel. I'm going to pull out some inks here that I have picked out, which include Shabby Shutters, Forest Moss, Uncharted Mariner, Salvage Patina, and then I don't have it here on my desk yet, but I'm also going to add Walnut Stain. I like to use my distress inks on a carrier sheet, and I use a Simon Says stamp pocket to be my carrier sheet. Any sort of plastic would work. But I really find this is so helpful for me in getting the look I want with ink smushing. I find I have so much more control. I like how it turns out better, and I can really just get some really nice backgrounds by maintaining that control and placing the ink where I want it. And so what I do is I smoosh the ink onto that carrier sheet, then take a distress sprayer and spritz it a little bit to get the ink moving. And of course, the more water you add, the more fluid the ink is going to be. And that gives me a really nice consistency that I can then smear across my paper. I can tap on it if I want to get more of those little speckled dots of ink and just get the look that I'm going for. So I'm going to repeat this for all the colors that I've chosen. I'm working right now with Salvage Patina. So I did Shabby Shutters first, Uncharted Mariner, then the Salvage Patina, which I'm watering down quite a bit because I want to kind of mix between the two colors. And in addition to smooshing these colors onto the paper, I am also drying in between each layer so that way I don't mess up each layer of ink before I put in the next one. Now they're going to reactivate a little bit, but it's not going to be a lot. So while I was talking, I did splatter this with some water droplets just to get some texture, and then I dried it again before I brought in some walnut stain. And again, doing the exact same thing, spritz it with a little bit of water before bringing it in. Now walnut stain is a really nice dark brown, and I wanted some contrast here because I was getting too many colors that I thought were generally about the same, so I wanted some contrast that'll add some interest to my die cut piece. So this brown is going to add that, which looks awesome. Now I also love to splatter my pieces with some mica stain because that adds a lot of shimmer, which really enhances the backgrounds. And then of course, when I use this as a die cut paper, it really looks awesome as you see those little speckles of mica stain here and there on the die cut panel. So I'm using 3 different colors of mica stain here. I dried it, and now we're going to die cut. So I have this brand new die from Simon Says Stamp's Cheering For You release. This one is the Arcing Leaf Border die. It's a very large die. It fits on an A2 card beautifully. So I'm going to die cut my panel here with this die, and then afterwards you can see we get this really cool variegated color scheme across the die cuts, which I love. This is one of my favorite ways to use backgrounds that I've made with distress ink smushing. And then I'm also going to use the smaller cluster of leaves and die cut that as well, so that way I can layer these on top of my larger spray. I'm going to ink blend onto a A2 card with some inks that I thought matched nicely with the colors that are in my leaf spray. Now, I'm using Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks for this just because I wanted these particular colors, and I love how these blend on cardstock. So that's why I chose these over distress inks. But these are going to match so nice with the leafy background. I'm using cabbage, butter, and also raindrop for the colors that I'm ink blending across my piece. I'm putting them in different sections and letting them blend together to create a nice variation in the background. I also splattered this as well just to continue that splattered effect, although I did not add as much splatter as I did to my ink smushed background. Just those same colors though, just to tie everything together. That'll make sure everything's very cohesive. And then after that dried, I'm bringing in my little leaf spray, and I'm going to put some foam tape behind it. These are little Simon Says Stamp foam squares, and these are going to add some dimension to this leaf panel. So I'm going to line this up in the top corner first, and then work my way down so that way I have it flush with the fold of the card. Then I can work on the bottom pieces and getting those flush with the bottom and top as well. Now I showed you how I made the green leaf piece. I did the purple one in the exact same way, and I'll show you how I finished both of these cards. So I made that purple panel with a few different purple and blue inks from the Distress collection, and then I will put that on top of a purplish background that I ink blended. I aligned the leaf pieces for both cards in the exact same manner. putting some little pieces of foam squares onto the leafy panel and then popping those smaller leaves on top. This adds a lot of dimension, which also adds some depth to the card as well. So as I was mentioning, both cards are created in the exact same format. They get this really nice dimensional leafy panel. The only difference is that I used some different colors for that purple panel, which included some purples, blues, and a little bit of teal. And I have all the colors that I used for both cards listed below in the video description if you're curious about any of those colors. Alright, so we're going to finish up both cards now. I'm using this new U set from CZ Design and Simon Stamp. It's part of the Cheering for You release. And this is going to get cut from some gold and silver cardstock from Simon. I'm running this through my mini Scout machine so that way I can get these die cut. These look awesome, centered up in the middle of my card off to the side from that leafy panel. And then I'm going to use the Coordinating U stamp set to stamp a coordinating greeting for each card. Now I picked out colors of cardstock that I thought would match nicely with my cards. I have some Sugar Plum from Lawn Fawn and then also some dark green from Simon Says Stamp. I'm stamping the sentiments with some embossing ink and then I will use some white embossing powder to sprinkle on top. That way I can have the white greeting on top of that darker colored cardstock, which adds some nice contrast. And these cardstocks that I've chosen are, I'm trying to mimic the most darkest colors that are in the cards, so that way the sentiment will stand out. I don't want it to get lost. Those leafy panels are quite detailed with all of their varying colors, so I want something that's going to stand out amongst them. So between the large U and then our dark little supporting sentiment, that makes sure the sentiments are a focal point. So the green card uses gold and then the blue card is going to use silver. So trying to keep the warm and cool tones together. And the cards didn't need anything else after this. These cards stand out on their own with that beautiful varying color on the die cuts, those bold sentiments, and of course we did all of our ink blending on the card base. So these weren't panels that I needed to put onto a card. Makes it nice and simple, less bulk of course too. And I just love how these turned out. Ink smooshing is so much fun. It creates such a unique look. And then of course when you use that as a die cut panel, now you've created a really cool custom piece. Something you would not have been able to create as easily if you were to try to ink blend on top of these die cuts instead of doing the smooshing. So I love this look. I think it looks really awesome and I hope you'll try it out yourself. You don't have to use the die that I used today. You could honestly use this technique with any die cuts you have. It does not have to be leaves. It could be something more geometric, some florals. It's your choice, but it's really fun to be able to make an ink smushed background and then use some dies to cut it out, create a whole new look. So I hope you'll try it. Thanks for tuning in today. Now I am participating in Simon Says Stamp's Cheering for You release blog hop, so if you want to see even more inspiration using the Cheering for You collection, please go over to my blog because I have a link to the next participant of the hop there so that you can see even more. There's also a giveaway happening at every stop in the hop. So if you want to win $25 to Simon Says Stamp, all you have to do is comment on my blog post for this video and you'll be able to be entered into that giveaway. So thanks so much for tuning in, friends. I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait to come back and share more with you. But until next time, have an absolutely wonderful day and I will see you again very soon.